As of this morning, I now have the parts so we could start putting the prototype together using Android. And I get to do an unboxing. So the important part I've been waiting to come from China, ordered from AliExpress, took forever, was the Rad XA compute board, CM3, and the Rad XA IO board. What's the difference between a Raspberry Pi and this compute board? A Raspberry Pi has RAM, memory, CPU, ports, adapters, plugs, all of this type of stuff built in. That's what a Raspberry Pi is. It's a full computer, a single board computer. One single board, everything attaches to the single board. You have limitations on things like the CPU speed or the amount of RAM. It is soldered onto the board. You cannot expand it. Whereas something like the compute module is really just the part that does the thinking. And this allows you to offset or put all of the different inputs and outputs and stuff you want onto a separate board, making it expandable. So this is essentially a brain. So this compute board cost me shipping, Alibaba order. Okay, so the compute board cost me about 1,800 Thai baht, which is about $85 Australian. That's $60 or $70 US. It has 42 gig of RAM, 32 gigs storage. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And that is our compute board. Fancy. Now, when I open the I/O board, I/O in and out. This should have all of the USB port, compute, LAN, and for our case, it has the one thing we need. Okay, so this is the compute board. We have connections. We have HDMI, USB, USB 2, USB 3, LAN, USB-C, headphone. And that headphone is how we're going to be doing our test. Compute board plugs directly on here. So what's the big deal? Now we have our module. I will be able to put onto this Android. Now, if you remember from the last videos I made, the issue was when we're using the Raspberry Pi, we can't run Android because all of the external audio plugs aren't supported by Android. So we'd have to custom code drivers and all of this sort of stuff, which I do not want to do for the external hardware to work, right? And I don't want to do that. No, thank you. End of story. No, thank you. So that was one why I decided to move to the Rad XA. Not sure if it's Rad XA, but I'm calling it Rad XA. And deal with the challenge of how to deal with audio. And this is what I've come up with. On the compute board, we have the headphone jack. Headphone jacks, even though most phones don't have them anymore, are still supported natively in Android. What I'm going to do to test is essentially take the audio out of the headphones. But Ben, I hear you say, there's no way of making it loud or controlling volume. Well, that's when you get something like this, amplifier. And this is where I start testing. This plug is left, right, and ground, which means from the headphones out, I can plug into this plug here to amplify the audio out and send it to these two speakers I have. These are 3-inch full range speaker driver. Not kind of sure on the decibels, kind of sure how loud, but more unboxing. So this is the 3-inch speakers. Come out of the headphones, into the amplifier, amplify speakers. And we have audio. Now, these are full range, meaning they do the highs, the really teeny bits, and the really bass bits. If I don't want to do that, this is my option. Or if that just doesn't work or I'm not happy with the sound, this is the next option. What I do is use this direct mono out, and that goes into a device like this, which is a crossover. What a crossover does is takes the audio left and right out, and it converts it. One just does the high pitch, the other does the low pitch. That means I would have one of these full range and one of these. This is a sub. So these two speakers, high, low. So that's kind of where I'm at for the audio. Do I have two trying to do everything? Do I have one high and low? The point is, by using the headphone out and either using this stereo amplifier or this crossover amplifier, I can get audio. And I don't have to do any drivers, anything special, which is brilliant. It means that we can keep moving forward on the project. I got a little thing for buttons. As you can see, essentially the keyboard has plugs left and right. They just go into a USB. So for now, using USB is fine. I am just prototyping. What does this mean? Why I'm just using this off-the-shelf parts to try and figure it out? because what I will be doing at some point is using this compute module, this brain that'll have the software and all of the instructions and the Wi-Fi and all that sort of thing. And I custom build my own I/O board. And that I/O board will have things like the power management module. It would have the keyboard, the volumes. It would have, of course, the amp, all on this custom board. So that's kind of where I'm up to. I have the parts to keep moving forward to build the Android version. Essentially, once I've got all of the parts put together and I've decided, do I go stereo? Do I go with the sub? Then I start working on a new case, because that will then tell me, one, what I need on my I/O board. And that's going to be cost, because I need an electrical engineer to build that for me. I have started trying to work on learning electrical engineering, board building, but trying to learn Shaper 3D to build the case, and KiCad and how it all works is maybe biting off a little bit more than I can and should chew. But it's all an experiment. So that's kind of where we're up to. Parts are in. I'll keep working on putting it together. Hopefully the next few days, I'll have all of these parts together and I can show you it working, because I have a screen. I'm still waiting on a 5-inch screen to come, but I'll use the 7-inch screen until that comes. And yeah, that's where we're up to. So I'll give you an update again in a few days. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions, any suggestions, I would very much love to hear them. Chuck them in the comments. Cool.